Pence traveling to Louisville, Kentucky today to help rally support.
The Obamacare nightmare is about to end. President Trump is a man of his word, and he's a man of action. We need every freedom-loving American to join with us in this effort.
I think Donald Trump, the negotiator, the listener, the deal maker, the decision maker, is coming through in this legislative process.
Another weekend, another round of town halls with angry voters from Republican lawmakers.
I am sick and tired of hearing people just blatantly denigrate the Affordable Care Act.
That is not repeal of Obamacare. We were promised repeal of Obamacare.
Manhattan's federal prosecutor Preet Bharara says he has been fired, but President Trump did it to himself. A sore loser, didn't want to go, thought he was more important than the office itself. He's not.
If someone comes to you as the President of the United States and says, I need all of your resignations, the answer is yes.
Secret Service now investigating how someone managed to breach the White House grounds while the president was inside.
The shooter's name is Jonathan Tran.
He's a troubled person. Very sad. It was fantastic.
No, it's not.
I was not on our side this morning.
Completely misleading. Thanks, Mick Jagger. Daylight saving time. Good morning, everyone. So in your world, it's still, it should be 5 o'clock.
Yeah. Who's up with us? That's what I want to know. Who is up with us right now?
Yeah, email us. Let us know if you're up with us.
Let us know what you're doing right now, other than watching us.
Send us some photos. And also, I will say this. I bet, like, parents with little kids right now, this might actually be a little bit exciting for them because they might actually sleep in a little bit later. Right?
You think they actually will?
Forward.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Or earlier is now later.
Later. See, this is what I'm talking
This
about.
is why you don't like it so much.
Exactly.
What does it even mean? I'm excited, though. The NCAA tournament tonight.
Yes.
Brackets
yes.
come out
Huge.
tonight.
And a massive snowstorm that we're tracking for you.
Could
be a massive nor'easter. We could get 2 feet of snow. So
12 to 18 inches. If that happens here in the city, I mean, it's just going to shut down.
New York City can't handle it. No. Minnesota, that's like Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly.
In New York?
Exactly.
No,
but you know what? I think people love these storms because you hunker down, you go get the groceries before.
It's chilly.
Yeah, it's an excuse to just sit in bed and then snuggle up and watch TV.
Well, let's talk some politics because we talked about yesterday 46 U.S. attorneys were asked to resign by the Trump administration, but one has refused to do so, and instead of being, forced to resign, hand in your papers, you're fired.
That's right. His name is Preet Bharara, and he is I believe it's Southern New York, the prosecutor from Southern New York, the district. He tweeted this yesterday. He said, I did not resign. Moments ago, I was fired. Being the U.S. attorney in SDNY will forever be the greatest honor of my professional life. So he claims that he was fired, but I don't know. People are wondering today, what's special about him? Why does he get to declare that he was fired when he, like all the other 46, was merely asked to tender his resignation?
Well, because he wanted the headline to be that he was fired. And he wants everyone to be talking about it right now. I mean, and that's what everybody is doing. I will say with Preet Bharara, he's someone that is very well respected, by the way, in this district. It's been hard both on Republicans and Democrats, including Mayor de Blasio. It's been really tough on crime. But just a reminder for everyone, this is the way it works. You are appointed by the President of the United States to serve as the U.S. attorney. This is just like any other appointment in the administration, like an ambassadorship. This has happened from the beginning.
So what else is going on here? And so the question, of course, is that he might politically positioning himself to run for governor of New York. Listen to Jonathan Turley from George Washington University Law School on Justice with Judge Dineen last night. Listen.
I considered it deeply unprofessional. I mean, he is a high-ranking political appointee. He serves at the pleasure of the president. Many U.S. attorneys will put forward the resignation as a matter of course. But when you're asked by the Attorney General to put in your letter, you do so because you're a professional. And I'm not too sure what he was trying to achieve. I still don't know what the point is, quite frankly. I don't know why you would want the president to fire you.
Well, it's kind of obvious.
It's grandstanding. It is absolute and complete grandstanding, and there have been rumors that he may want, whether it's mayor or governor here in New York, he certainly has a high-profile position, is respected by some, but again, an Obama appointee who did 7 years, and now you've got a new sheriff in town who says, I want a new set of priorities.
And as we just heard him say, when you are asked to resign, you do that gracefully. That is what this process is all about. So, but the Democrats, though, a lot of them are up in arms about this. So he actually used to be the legal counsel for Chuck Schumer, by the way. So they've got a very close relationship, as Geraldo reminded us yesterday on the couch. But Democrats are all over this one. Here's a statement, for example, from Senator Leahy. He says, the abrupt Friday night firing of all remaining U.S. attorneys, including Preet Bharara, a well-respected, tough prosecutor who the president promised could stay, is another reminder that the independence of the Justice Department is at risk. Under this administration, the Senate will now have to fully evaluate the president's selected replacements. They will have a high bar to prove they have the necessary courage and fidelity to the law, like Sally Yates, to say no to a president who will need to hear it regularly.
Exactly. So let us know your thoughts on this. Friends at FoxNews.com. Is that an effort to try to stop the Trump agenda by, being intractable here? I'm not going to leave.
Of course. I mean, and this is also, you talk about it's abrupt, it's a firing, it's a purge is the word you've even heard, too, from others. You could even conceive of where this goes, that is this a political move that shouldn't have been done, even though later on in the show, we're going to play clips from other networks at other points, President Clinton and others, when the exact same thing was done, and very different wording was used than purge or firing. It was replace.
Clean slate.
Yeah, and if you go to other networks this morning even, you're going to see a very different language as well.
Of course, it's a politically motivated move against a respected prosecutor.
All right, well, the thing that I think affects most Americans, health care. And the president and the vice president taking to the road, sort of a road tour to go out there and sell their health care pitch, and going across different states yesterday. But they're getting some pushback. The reason that they're doing this is because they are getting some big pushback, not just from Democrats, but from Republicans.
And they were in Kentucky, where, of course, that's where Senator Rand Paul is, who's been quite critical of this new plan. And Sarah Palin is now another voice.
She's back.
She is back, and she is not a favor of this new plan going forward. Here's what she had an interview with Breitbart News, and here's what she said. She says, remember, this is government-controlled health care, the system that requires enrollment in an unaffordable, unsustainable, unwanted, unconstitutional continuation of government-run medicine. And even in this new quasi-reform proposal, there is still an aspect of socialism. That's the whole premise here.
We have
and that's
a lot of
their
viewers
complaints.
that love Sarah Palin, and when she says moves the needle on this, and so she's standing up for it, saying we wanted a repeal and replacement of the law. This is still government-controlled health care.
It's such an interesting mixture of dynamics, because you've got Mike Pence, a avowed conservative, going to Kentucky. It's clearly a signal to someone like Rand Paul, who's a conservative and hasn't necessarily liked this plan. Now you have Sarah Palin, who's calling it some sort of aspect of socialism. But, of course, Mike Pence and Mick Mulvaney and all these guys in the administration, they don't want socialism. They want something that actually repeals and replaces Obamacare. It's going to be really interesting to see how the next couple of days and weeks, whether or not the conservatives can be brought into the tent.
Yeah.
What tweaks can be made? What kind of, the bowling meeting that's going to happen on Tuesday with the Freedom Caucus, are they able to incorporate some of these ideas? And how powerful is the political primary aspect of it? I mean, I don't know. You don't want to get to a point,
it's huge, right? I mean, these guys wanting to run for office, they're getting calls from their own district from people saying, I don't want to lose my health care, and you're going to be out of a job if I lose my health care.
And like the guy we saw in the open, hey, you said you were going to rip Obamacare out root and branch, to quote Mitch McConnell, and now you're giving me something that doesn't feel like that? That's not what I voted for.
Yeah, but you know
That's not what I pushed for.
Healthcare is such a complicated but also such a personal thing. And a lot of people's lives have been ruined because of Obamacare. They've lost their jobs over this. Their health has been really hurt because of Obamacare.
Sure.
And so I understand why a lot of people are up in arms, but also a real concern that if you can't get Obamacare replaced and repealed under this administration with a House controlled and a Senate controlled by Republicans, it's probably never going to happen.
We've also heard from Dr. Mark Siegel on our show, who said, but then you also have people who have health care for the very first time and who are worried about losing it again. And they waited their whole life to get it, and now they're going to be having.
So where's the middle ground? That's the problem. How do you come together on this?
Romney. Maybe you bring in Mitt Romney. Remember, he's out there looking for where Obamacare came out of Mitt Romney's plan in Massachusetts.
What would Sarah Palin say to that?
Romneycare.
Yeah.
No, to your point, though, to say exactly what Paul Ryan said the other day. If we're ever going to have a moment, it's right now. And but when I hear Sarah Palin use a word like socialism, I mean, socialized medicine is the VA. We've seen what happens with the VA. That's what the left really wants, is single-payer, government-run health care. That's clearly not what Republicans want. So if they can coalesce around something that keeps some of the aspects that people are going to like, as you mentioned, Clayton, but really inserts free market principles, then I think
there's a lot of good stuff in this new plan, by the way. Most importantly, competition. bringing the prices down. I mean, bringing the quality up and bringing those prices down to cross over state lines. Yeah. That's a huge part of this. So we do want to know from you guys as well. What do you think? Do you like this plan? Do you think changes need to be made? We're going to be talking about this all morning long with some great guests. So let us know what you think. But we do have some other headlines we want to bring you this morning. Starting with this breaking overnight, a Cincinnati police officer is shot. Investigators say 2 officers were responding to a domestic violence call just after midnight when the suspect opened fire, hitting one of the officers. The cops hitting the suspect multiple times. Both men undergoing surgery, and they are luckily expected to be okay. And a security breach at the White House, even more serious than first reported. 26-year-old Jonathan Tran allegedly scaling the fence, eluding multiple layers of security, almost making it to the entrance with mace and a letter from President Trump. Tran telling Secret Service he was a friend of the president and had an appointment. President Trump praising security officers. Listen.
Did a fantastic job. It was a troubled person.
Tran is set to be in court tomorrow and is facing up to 10 years in prison. And Congress putting pressure on the president over his wiretapping claims. An intelligence committee giving the White House until tomorrow to provide proof backing up President Trump's claims that President Obama wiretapped Trump Tower before the election. The Trump administration has asked that any investigation of the president's claims be part of a larger probe into Russia's alleged interference with the election. And we are mourning the loss of a music icon this morning.
We are family,
and that song will live on forever. Joni Sledge, one of the founding members of the vocal group Sister Sledge, found dead in her Arizona home. Investigators not releasing the cause of her death just yet, but the band's spokesperson says she was not ill. Joni Sledge was just 60 years old. She will be missed.
It's too bad. All right, coming up here on the show, U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara fired after refusing to take the pink slip. But is there more to the story here? We're going to ask former Deputy Attorney General Tom Dupree about that.
Plus, another White House security breach, and now a former Secret Service agent said...
Welcome back. Well, Obama-era U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara standing up to the Trump administration, refusing to resign. Now he says he has been handed the pink slip.
But isn't the DOJ shakeup all part of the normal transition?
Joining us now to weigh in is former Deputy Assistant Attorney General Tom Dupree. Tom, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
So break this down for us a little bit. Is there anything out of the ordinary here except for the fact that he's refusing to step down?
There's nothing out of the ordinary aside from that fact. Look, this is what happens, and this is how our system is designed to work. Under our Constitution, the president is the head of the executive branch, and he is entitled to put into place in his administration people who are committed to carrying out faithfully his law enforcement agenda. This is exactly what past presidents have done. There's nothing remarkable about it. Frankly, the only thing that surprises me in this is that the administration waited this long to do this.
So he's not here to defend himself. So let me just pretend to defend him for a moment. He said yesterday in a statement, one hallmark of justice is absolute independence, and that was my touchstone every day that I served, meaning that this idea that he believes in the job that he's doing, and I'm not leaving, you're going to have to drag me out of here.
Well, and look, independence is what you want in a prosecutor, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that you defy the request of the president to submit your resignation. Our system works in the following way. The prosecutors serve at the pleasure of the president, and if the president says, I need to ask for your resignation, the honorable thing to do at that point is to turn in your resignation. Look, I was a political appointee under President Bush. I resigned effective Inauguration Day when President Obama came into office. I didn't force him to fire me.
Yeah. So was Jeff Sessions, by the way, who was U.S. Attorney in Alabama under President Clinton at the time. He was asked to resign as well. What are there, 46 of them that were asked to resign this go-round? Seems like Preet Bharara is the only one that is coming out publicly saying he was fired. Does make you wonder about his own political ambitions, and if there's something else going on here, the bigger picture. What do you think?
Yeah, you know, it's unfortunate because, as you said, you know, Preet has had a very honorable service as the top federal prosecutor in New York. He's got a great reputation in law enforcement communities, and you hate to see his tenure end on this note. I don't want to speculate as to what his personal motives might have been, but I will say this. There's no question that people are already taking this and trying to spin it in a way to say that, oh, this is part of a political purge by the administration, when, in fact, nothing could be further from the truth. Sure. This is the way our Constitution is designed to operate.
As you pointed out, half of these U.S. attorneys resigned the minute President Trump won. The other half were asked for the resignation. There's a small detail in here. Apparently, the president tried to call Preet the day of or before from his assistant, and he refused to take the phone calls. There's a reason why he would do that?
Well, there is a tradition that normally there's not direct contact between the White House and prosecutors and that sort of thing. But under the circumstances here, I don't think there would have been any problem with Preet speaking to the president directly. And certainly there would have been no problem with Preet tendering his resignation to the Attorney General.
Sure. Are you concerned at all about the vetting process of replacing these individuals going forward? We've had some problems in this current White House with some vetting, especially Mike Flynn.
I don't think there are going to be any problems. I'm strongly confident that the White House is already one step ahead. They're thinking of possible candidates to replace these U.S. attorneys. These people will be thoroughly vetted. They obviously will go up through the Senate confirmation process where the senators can ask about their record. And so at the end of the day, I think you're going to see very serious, very credited, experienced people, talented people being put in these new prosecutorial roles.
It seems that way. Tom Dupree, thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
All right. Some big 3 hours, 4 hours still coming up. Another White House security breach. Now, a former Secret Service agent says President Trump is no longer safe. Dan Bongino is here to explain why next.
She thought because of daylight savings the show was an hour shorter.
I actually wrote it on social media, 6 to 9. Crazy.
And brace yourselves, everyone. The entire internet is in danger. The inventor of the World Wide Web. Remember when it was called that?
And we're back with some quick headlines. The FBI ramping up its investigation into who leaked classified CIA documents to WikiLeaks. Contractors being questioned in Virginia who developed the top secret programs designed to hack into smartphones and household technologies. No one has been detained so far. And U.S. diplomats warning against the growing hysteria over Russia. Former U.S. ambassadors to Russia calling the Democrats' claims over Russia's alleged collusion with the Trump administration a, quote, witch hunt. They say if it doesn't stop, it could hurt the U.S.-Russian relationship going forward. Clayton.
Well, listen to this. A man carrying a backpack jumped over the fence, getting within steps of the White House before being arrested late Friday night.
That's right. 26-year-old Jonathan Tran was carrying 2 cans of mace and now faces weapons charges.
Yeah, our next guest says the security breach proves the president is no longer safe in the White House. Here to weigh in, former Secret Service agent Dan Bongino. Dan, good to have you here this morning.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So according to our Kristen Fisher in a report last night, she said since 1991, there have been 78 cases of someone jumping over the White House fence. That's staggering. Why do you say he's not safe?
Well, because he's not. I mean, I have evidence to prove that, and the Secret Service doesn't have evidence to make the counter case. I mean, we had Omar Gonzalez, a war veteran with a bad knee, make it over the White House into the into the state floor of the White House. We then had this recent case where a guy jumps over the fence in the Treasury, had to scale another fence to get into the South grounds, and nearly made it into the White House again. Abby, the problems here with the Secret Service are a really sclerotic management, a serious brain drain in the Secret Service, and an inadequate security plan. He's not safe in there, and I stand by those comments.
So an inadequate security plan. Of course, we've also had airplanes crashing into the White House, the small airplanes. Remember during the Clinton years, we had drones. Yeah. I mean, how do they prepare for all of the variables here?
Yeah, there's a lot they need to do, and the problem is they don't want to do it. I'm absolutely sure that a lot of the swamp rats, even in the security arena, are in the Secret Service, their management, are telling DHS and telling White House operations, oh, everything's fine. But never forget this. An uneventful failure is not a success. And what happened yesterday was an uneventful failure. It was a clear failure of the security plan that thankfully was uneventful. There were no serious weapons, explosives, or firearms. But this was a huge, disastrous failure. What bothers me about this whole thing is Secret Service management on the 8th floor of headquarters knows exactly what needs to be done at the White House. And either they don't have the guts or the courage or the political will to go and do it. They need double fencing. They need more personnel, more special weapons teams operators, and they just don't want to do it. It's mind-boggling.
How much of it is that they don't want to turn the White House into a fortress? They want it to appear accessible. They want, visibly you don't want it to look like a war zone. Can you do both?
Yeah, Pete, I'm glad you brought this up. The overused D.C. buzz term, the optics, I have to use the dreaded air quotes, but that does worry people. That's a great question. This has been on their mind for a long time. Well, if we do this, will it make the president look inaccessible? Guys, listen, I'm a libertarian at heart. I understand that. But the White House is open for tours. Anybody can go through their congressman and request one. The president brings people in the White House all the time. He had minors in there for that coal bill the other day. The fact that you're going to have a couple of extra people in BDUs, battle dress uniforms, the military type uniforms on the north and south grounds is not going to make it look like an armed camp. Everybody understands there's security at the White House. These are absurd concerns that they worry about.
Well, they are raising the fence, I believe, from 6 feet now to 11 feet. So it'll be interesting to see if that makes a difference at all. Dan Bongino, thanks for being with us.
All right, coming up here, it won't. The headlines say it all. Trump team ousts Obama-appointed U.S. attorneys, but President Obama only replaced them. Isn't this media bias at its worst?
Interesting. Two very different headlines. Plus, Muhammad Ali Jr. claims he was detained at the airport over his faith. Is this real or all just about a political jab at the president?
And 2 snowboarders get some wild company on the slopes. Watch.
Oh my God, I don't know where to go.
Wow.
I know. It's stuck in my head forever. Mr. Johnson, thank you.
Do you know all the lyrics to it?
I do.
Yeah. It's like R.E.M.
I love it.
Close. It's there. It's in there somewhere.
Well, because of daylight saving, no one's even awake right now, so we can just...
Well, now they are. I hope you're awake now.
Good morning, everyone.
Right.
So we like to look through some of the archives of media bias from time to time.
We never do that.
To see, how certain stories are played when it's, perhaps a liberal president versus a Republican president.
Never different.
Yeah, never different.
And earlier this hour, we covered the fact that President Trump took his prerogative to replace U.S. attorneys, as every president has the opportunity to do because they serve at the pleasure of the president. 46 of them were asked to tender their resignation. 45 did. One kind of didn't want to, but he had to anyway.
Really didn't want to. Actually said, if I don't resign, am I fired? Basically, he wanted the headline to be that he was fired. Preet Bharara, who is the U.S. attorney in the Southern District here in New York.
That's right.
But if you look at headlines of how this is, as we've said, this happens basically every new administration that comes in. They have a cleaning of the House. This is how it has been covered in the past. This was Politico back in 2009. It says, Obama to replace U.S. attorneys, right? That's
a
good example of how it happened. This was back in, this was today.
This is now.
Yesterday.
Yep. Trump team ousts Obama-appointed U.S. attorneys. Same, by the way, the interesting part about those two headlines, same exact reporter. Josh Gerstein wrote the exact same headlines. So under Obama...